The answer is we'll get there. And then I got you. Do you want to speak to that directly in your presentation, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so. Well, I can't say, but.
Sure. I think the key points around that are that if we develop a good process that has the right people at the table who have appropriate means and levels of engagement, the more likely we are to have something at the end of the day that governments are going to be very interested in implementing because they see it's in their best interest. So the key for us at this point, where we're actually trying to get this thing off the ground and bring people to this discussion, is that we do that in an effective way so that when we get to the end of the day, we've got a product that everybody understands and that we have broad support for. So that's sort of the approach we're taking at this point.
Thanks, Neil. So I guess the answer is yes. If the group wants to move forward, then yes, we'll move forward. And my findings from the interviews that we conducted is that people are very anxious to move forward. So I would say that yes, the answer is yes. Charles, you had a question?
Yeah, whereas these other questions were looking at the impact of the information after it's in, I'm interested in that first thing about the obtaining. So how are you actually planning to obtain information in a day and a half? I see you have the review and obtain input on proposed analysis. That's one thing. But actually to talk about inputting socioeconomic and cultural information in a day and a half in this forum raises on, and linked to that, there's another kind of secondary question to that. Is if you're asking people to provide data that they already have, that raises a whole range of interesting questions about the provision of that data, especially when you hired for-profit consultants to put the reports together.
Okay.
So there's Joy's question asked about how you're going to use the data and what's going to happen to it. I'm actually saying, well, when you actually go and try to get that data, and if you're going to want to get data that's available and current, that exists outside of the published literature that people may be working with, and you're paying other people to actually put this together.
Okay.
And that happens, that affects both indigenous communities, academic researchers, community organizations who have data that may be proprietary.
Okay. You've raised 2 points that thank you for raising, because I didn't get to them and I should have. So the 2 points are sort of how are you going to do it in a day and a half? Well, actually we're not going to do it in a day and a half. This is a starting place for a process, a study, which will seek to identify people who hold information so that the consultants, the study team, can work with them downstream from here to capture that information. The other point that you raised or alluded to that's really important is that not everybody is in this room. Not everybody could be here, and we know that. And we're looking to you not to bring their voice to the table, but if there is somebody or some group or some organization who isn't here and should be included, you need to tell a member of the study team, give them their name or their contact information if you have it, and they'll work with them. Gary's going to make a presentation in a little while about how we're going to do that, and I think that your questions will be answered in detail at that.
There's a third point to that. Is when people actually have invested social and real capital into collecting data, and you want to capture it, and you need to talk about that very much. What are you going to do? You want people to give it back to you on their own goodwill? And then that links back to the implications of what happens to that data when you actually end up having it. The implications might happen to people who might have proprietary or cached data, might have information about land use and marine activities, and you want the data, you want to capture it. There's implications.
And I think, I don't know to the extent to which you're going to address that, but I think you'll find out after Gary does his presentation in a second that he's done this work before, and I think he's considered those concerns. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about operating values. I mean, everybody needs a framework within which to have some meaningful and timely discussions. As Charles has mentioned, we only have a day and a half together. We'd like to hear from everybody. We'd like to hear what's top of mind. We've created a bit of a framework or a discussion framework to hold those dialogues inside of. But that all will only work if we follow a few little kind of guidelines as far as so what we're really doing here is we're not looking for opinion, we're looking for information. So the time for expressing opinions and stuff will happen, but they need to be informed opinions, and we are asking this group to provide that information so that communities up and down the coast and stakeholder groups and First Nations can have an informed opinion based on the work that we've done. So we're looking for information. Therefore, we'd like to balance airtime between everyone in the room. Everyone here has something to say, and we want to hear from you. But we really can't police that. It's really important that folks respect that, you know, if we say, can you take 2 minutes or can you wrap up in 30 seconds? There will be facilitators in each breakout room, and we will ask you to wrap up, and we will you know, ask you to get to the point quickly, because there are a lot of people that we need to hear from. We want to include everybody. I've mentioned that. If we can, in plenary and in the breakout sessions, if we can just have one conversation at a time, that would be great, because there will be a recorder in each session, and the recorder needs to take notes based on one person talking. So that would be really helpful. If you have technology, please silence it, and we'd like it if you could stick to the process. Comment, question?
Yes, Bruce talked about profiling social, economic, and cultural values, and you talked about information. So is there the same thing, or are they different?
Thanks for pointing that out. We're really just trying to document, and the word values is used, these are economic activities or cultural activities, or so values is kind of a catch-all word. I'm not going to try to explain it because Gary is going to explain it in his presentation. Just quickly, we will review the agenda for tomorrow morning during our plenary session, but for today, here's the timeline, the way it's been planned at least. We're going to talk about, there's a presentation in a moment by Neil to give a sort of overarching background information about the initiative. Then Gary is going to have Gary will give us some information about his proposed approach so that everybody's on the same page as far as where the study team is moving and how you fit in. Then we're going to take a little bit of a break. Then we're going to talk about these value sets. So just put a parenthesis around the word values for now, and Gary will fill in the blanks. We're going to talk about these two values this morning, and this BC1. So we're going to use this room here as two breakout rooms. So in between the sessions, we'll just pull that curtain across, and this will be breakout session room BC1, and at the back there, that will be BC2, okay? And there's a third room that we'll be using this afternoon, and I'll give you instructions on how to get there when we get there. So we'll have these two breakout sessions this morning, and Gary's going to explain. He's done some work around them just to give you an idea of what the report might look like at the end of the day. And the other thing was, when we started to plan this, we were going to sort of move forward quickly and capture information so that the study team could document it. But when we started talking to people, they said, well, we want to hear what the other groups have to say. So we redesigned the agenda to say, well, okay, we'll do this report back. So we will be doing some report backs, and it'll be in this room. So we respect the fact that people want to hear what kinds of discussions happened in the other groups. So, and then lastly, this afternoon, we're really going to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to get down to these other kind of value discussions or activities. So we'll be running 3 breakout sessions simultaneously. One will be here, one will be there, and then one in the harbor room, which is sort of one floor down and at the other end of the building. There'll be signs to guide you there if you want to go there. What you need to do is you need to figure out which group you want to be in, and you just need to show up. So don't come back here looking for instructions to be tasked to go there. At those times, just make sure you're in the room that you want to be in to hold that discussion. And this little roadmap is posted on these 2 doors as well.